Welcome to the first episode of our second season. I'm Rich Telford and I'll be your host. On today's show, we'll take a look at how paintball evolved from the woods into today's high-speed arena ball format. Captain of world-famous team Aftershock, Rennick Miller, stops by to discuss the first paintball markers and how they became the high-speed rippers of today. Plus, a closer look at Tippmann's entry-level markers.
This episode of TRAUMAHEAD SPORTZ is brought to you by...
There are many types of paintball games, and everybody's a newbie once.
My first day of paintball was on a really cold day. I remember not being too excited at first, but then after I got to play and shoot some people, I just felt this rush.
First time I played paintball was with my brother Alexis Longquistus in the backyard. He bought 2 PGP guns and we went at it in the backyard. The neighbors were looking at us all weird and we're like, don't mind us, don't mind us.
And I remember the first time I played paintball. It was with my husband, actually on a speedball field, and I got to bunker him. So I joined the team, and now we get to go out and play scenario ball, and I love it.
The thing I love most about paintball is the adrenaline rush when you get out there. It's non-stop action 100% of the time, whether you're in the woods, around the tournament ball field.
It's changed my life, and it's definitely done better.
When you started playing paintball, every time you went out to play, you thought you were gonna die. It was a different thing back then. It was unbelievable.
Some of the bunkers you may see your first time out are pallets, spools, 55-gallon drums, and hopefully some really big trees. Most fields have a fort of some kind to defend. This is called rec ball. It stands for the more than 4 million players that play every weekend around the world. Paintball didn't start off as a game, and certainly wasn't intended to be a sport. In the late 70s, park rangers used paint pistols to mark trees. And with boys being boys, you can imagine the rest. In 1982, a man named Bob Guernsey and 11 friends went into the woods to play the first official organized paintball game, Capture the Flag. Paintball is so addicting that millions of players worldwide take it to the next level. When paintball first stepped out of the tree line, players played a primitive field with wooded pallets for bunkers. They were refined at the Knoxville Indoor to become a more aesthetically pleasing bunker. These were the first asymmetrical game fields, which allowed fans to actually watch the game. This was first called speedball. It also introduced the money move, called bunkering, mugging, or the drive-by. As speedball caught on, a new type of field was introduced, hyperball. One of the most famous of these fields on the American tournament circuit was Rennick Miller's Badlands in Chicago, Illinois. In 1998, Adrenaline Sports introduced a new lightweight and portable bunker system called Super Air. It revolutionized the way we play tournament paintball today. Initially, the bunkers had to be connected to stay inflated. Now they are freestanding and basically maintenance-free. They've been produced in all shapes and sizes to make the most interesting fields of play possible. There was no end to the amount of teams that wanted to compete on the national level in 1994. A group of the most dedicated teams in the nation decided to form their own league, the National Professional Paintball League, or the NPPL.
Originally formed the NPPL years and years ago. Myself, Steve Davidson, Bob Long, Billy and Adam Gardner, several other team captains all got together here in Chicago at the Holiday Inn right over the expressway. And we called a meeting. Everybody flew in. Jerry Braun flew in. Some of the other promoters chose to ignore us, and it was really in response to the fact that we felt the promoters were making a god-awful amount of money and not really giving us any product. We weren't being officiated properly. We had to buy their paint at exorbitant rates. It was a really bad situation to be in tournament paintball then. So when we first formed it truly was an organization by players, for players. We made a tremendous difference in the game immediately.
In 1997, WDP and Smart Parts introduced the first electric pneumatic marker. It had a microchip for a trigger for ridiculously fast rates of fire. It revolutionized the way we play the sport today. We'll take a look at how markers have evolved after the break.
Hi, I'm Rennick.
Today's paintball game is a high-speed, adrenaline-packed brawl.
If you're talking about a mugging versus a drive-by, I would consider that bunkering. I'm old school. The first idea was invented very, very long time ago. We still had pump guns, and autocockers were just kind of coming into it. Ironman, Aftershock, All-Americans. We were running through the woods. We'd run right over the top of a bunker and shoot the guy. We would never even think about going to the next guy. You always shoot the guy and get his spot. Nowadays, in X-Ball or 7-Man, if you're going to do a drive-by, you're just going to run, shoot the guy. If you don't get shot, immediately try and get the next guy, and just keep going until somebody gets you off the field.
Today, the old school format of 10-man has been replaced with 7-man. 7-man has a shorter play clock and really rewards teams that communicate well and know the field layout.
7-man is got a little bit of the flavor of traditional paintball that evolved from the woods through 5, 10, and on to 7-man. It's a high skill level game. You can make some big moves. You can do a little creeping around out there. Have a lot of fun playing 7-man. Game skill and shooting accuracy is very high in 7-man. And ultimately, it's a fun way to play, and a lot of kids are still gravitating towards that.
Another choice players have today is X-Ball. It's a 5-on-5 format where the team goes out and plays repetitive points. This is a real good test of a team's stamina, teamwork, and communication.
X-Ball is a true sport. It's a repetitive point system where you play point after point after point. Generally, the best team will win. It has very little to do with luck because you have to win multiple points to win the game. So a referee's call or one big move by a player or a big letdown by another player is not as important as X-Ball as it is in 7-man. X-Ball, you're allowed to almost have a do-over every couple of minutes and try it again. If you're not as good a team, you're not going to win the game because the other team is just going to keep racking up the points. And it's more like a hockey game where you have penalties, people are removed from the field of play, they're able to be reinstituted into the field of play. More of a true sport than 7-man.
A lot of teams and people are rediscovering the joy of woods ball. They're playing big scenario games like D-Day and Normandy, where teams are broken up into 2 large groups and they played against each other over a long period of time. It's great and it's exciting and it's a lot of fun. You have missions and objectives that you have to accomplish. When you accomplish the missions and objectives, you accumulate points. The team with the most points at the end of the day gets the win. You can expect to see tanks, smoke bombs, costumes, and even occasionally a helicopter.
The main difference between tournament paintball and scenario paintball is that in tournament paintball it's a much faster paced game. They try to get much faster rounds in, real quick turnaround, whereas in scenario paintball we're out in the woods for a couple hours at a time and we have objectives that we have to capture or things that we have to do instead of just eliminating the team and hanging the flag.
The difference between milsim and scenario is that milsim is basically looking the part. Scenario is completing objectives and using your tactics from speedball or woodsball to complete a mission.
Paintball seems to still be going in two totally separate directions. One is a competitive tournament player, brightly colored jerseys, brightly colored guns. The other is not a milsim, but more of a traditional woodsball player. You really need to play the game that you love and buy the equipment that works for you. The guns that can rule in the woods are the same guns that always did. The old automags, the old autocockers are still the dominant gun. You have custom gun manufacturers now that really cater to that, but is a gun that looks like an AK-47 actually better than a DM8 in the woods just because it looks more realistic? The answer, of course, is no.
We'll get more into scenario games in future episodes.
I couldn't pull off half the shots that I take without my Tippmann. It shoots hard, it's always ready to go, and the Apex barrel on there, I get shots off 50 yards farther than anybody else.
Paintball wouldn't be as much fun without my DM6, which is my favorite gun and better than my husband's PMR.
I really like my new E-Tech. It's the E-Tech 2, the new one from Planet Eclipse. I used to have an old Spider, and while it did work for me, it just wasn't the quality that I was looking for. After I've upgraded to the E-Tech 2, it gives you can walk the trigger a little better, you can shoot a little faster, it's more consistent.
The thing I love most about paintball is it's the best rush you can get without jumping out of a plane.
The thing I love most about paintball, it is a family-friendly sport. My husband and I play it, as well as my niece.
The thing that I love most about paintball is the people that you meet. You come to a field and you see all these different people from different walks of life, but you all have something in common. You all like to come and you play a paintball, you play a sport together. And you meet people from all over the place, all over the world, all over the country. If you travel, you meet different people. It's just a great family building exercise, I guess.
Tomorrow's game fields are here today. Theme fields like the ones in Hollywood Sports Park in Los Angeles, California, and CPX here in Chicago are providing cutting-edge backdrops for play. You may play in Waterworld or play through a bombed-out town. Well, that's all the time we have for now. But check us out next week